Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Carver Conservation Commission meeting for April 7th, 2021. Our order of business on the agenda, the first piece of business is approval of Article 16 as set forth in the warrant for the town meeting next week. Sarah, would you like to just explain, Ms. Hewins, what this is? This is since you're here, you might as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sarah Hewins, 52 Forest Street. This is an article. I'm also on the select board, so this is an article that I wrote to be sponsored by the select board and hopefully the Conservation Commission to see if the town will vote and to prohibit the building, construction, and/or permitting of any new landfill, trash dump, and/or fly ash facility on any property within the town of Carver, or take any other action relative thereto. On the warrant, this right now is Article 16. That number could change depending on the last vote that we took last night. But in the informational summary, I try to explain why I thought this was important. So I'll just read that as well. The town currently has 3 landfills, one of which is on town-owned property and 2 of which are on private property. This article will prevent any more landfills and prohibit the building and/or permitting of any new such facility and/or fly ash facility to protect the residents and our natural resources, including our water resources. I think you're all probably aware that the landfill on Plymouth Street, the Ravenbrook landfill, was filled with certain contaminants that eventually made their way into the groundwater, which then the groundwater traveled northwest under Route 54 and contaminated what's now considered the redevelopment, the Route 44 project site, which the Air Force is now cleaning up. So this is to prevent something like that happening again in town. The North Carver landfill also went underground and polluted the groundwater of some of the residents in Carver, including Plymouth Street. So the fly ash facility is something I am very concerned about because of the Route 44 site. I would hate to, and I'm hoping others would hate to see something like that constructed overnight on one of our last real big commercial industrial properties.
Okay. Just as a matter of actually just curiosity, where you said the 3 landfills. I'm aware of the 2 in North Carver. Where is the other
2
one?
in North Carver, we call it the North Carver landfill. That's on Route 58.
Right.
And the Ravenbrook landfill, which is on the Plymouth Street extension.
Right.
So as you're going towards Middleborough on the left. And then there's one in the landfill down in South Carver.
On Rochester?
No, it's right on the Wankinko River, unfortunately. It's
Okay.
It's the one that CMAS uses to take their fly ash.
That's
sometimes.
the big, that's the
on
the
Federal
big piece.
Road.
Yeah, on Federal Road.
That's the one on
Yeah.
Federal Road. So
Okay.
where if you stand at the top, you can see Buzzards Bay. And
Yeah.
you look north and you can see the Blue Hills.
Right, okay. Because there was one in South Carver on Rochester Road way back when.
I don't think
dump.
it's there anymore.
Oh, I think they just buried it.
Well, those are the 3 landfills of which I'm aware. Let's put it that way.
All right. All right, does anybody have any questions of Sarah? Mr. Badger?
Just for people watching, could you, obviously people understand what a landfill is, but what about if you could define fly ash, a fly ash facility?
Okay, so I don't know the technical definition, but it would be the place where, so for example, at CMAS, they burn our trash, and sometimes they need to take the fly ash is the residual ash from the burning, and it's very toxic. And so CMAS Covanta buries it in the landfill that's on Federal Road, but they bury it. And that's a lined landfill, and it's a capped landfill. Certain as they go along, they have different segments, and the only place they're allowed to dump their fly ash now is in the lined one. So hopefully that's not getting into our water. So it's a residual ash, and it contains dioxins, among other things.
Does, sorry, just one more question. Does landfill also include organic matter, trees, stumps, things of that nature? Would that be listed under a type of landfill?
Not according to me. Composting is completely different.
Right.
And depending on the size of the compost facility, those get regulated. If they're really big, they get regulated by the DEP.
Mhm.
But, so, I mean, it would depend on the site, but they're different from landfills, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any?
I couldn't agree with this more. The last thing we need in North Carver on the URP up there is another dump. We've already got bad soil to start with up there. There was a lot of garbage that was brought in during the big dig. There was a lot of stuff that was dumped up there. They're cleaning it up now. We certainly don't need more of it. It's costing this town the better part of $500,000 for the sins of the Plymouth Street water line project from that dump. So, you know, these are the prices that we pay 25, 30, 40 years later. And I absolutely would support this. And I think anybody that would not support it, well, I wouldn't agree with.
And Mr. Chair, if I could, I'd like to, because Mr. Badger brought up a very good point. As we talked about last night, when the town meeting votes, they're not necessarily voting on the warrant, but they're voting on the motion. And so I could see whether I could get a more specific definition of landfill for this to be part of the motion that's made on the floor.
I think this is, I think this is fine, and
I think
it's going to spark, it's obviously going to spark some conversation. I think that the explanation of fly ash, it's no different than the ashes in your fireplace. This is what's left over that won't burn. And you'll see if you're down anywhere in the Route 58 and 28 area, you'll see Feeney is the trucking company, and that's what they do all day long, 7 days a week, is they haul fly ash. And that's what's in their trailers, and they're heading over to the dump on Federal Road where they're dumping it, because this is when you burn a tremendous amount of trash. You never get it all, so this is what you get. So I think that it's pretty simple, and it'll be easily explained at town meeting, and I think that, you know, just the simple fact that we've got several dumps in this town as it is, I think will be enough to deter anyone from wanting to see another one. At least I would hope.
Yeah.
All right, I have one question. The question that I have is, in the old location of the old North Carver dump, up off 58, the old Whitworth property.
Mm-hmm. The Ravenbrook landfill.
No, behind Aubuchon, where the urban renewal.
Well, that was not technically permitted as a dump.
I understand that.
It was never a trash dump.
Yeah.
I understand that, but there are certain items on that property now
Mm-hmm.
that are putting PFAS into the ground. And part of the development of that plot of land
Mm-hmm.
for the urban renewal plan is to take those, as much of those damaging items, coalesce them, put a barrier underneath them, and cap them. So in a sense, that's creating a new landfill.
Is that already in the process?
It's not actually in the process, it's part of the plan to remediate what really can't be removed.
Okay.
So I just wonder if there's, if that would affect, this bylaw would affect. There are two areas there. They've identified three sources of PFAS, which is a toxic chemical.
Right.
2 of them are on site, and they need to cap them and put a barrier underneath them. The third source is Ravensbrook, and they can't do anything about that.
Right.
Yeah, but this,
So I guess my response, I don't know, and I was not aware that that was happening, but,
It's relatively new.
so I would
situation.
imagine that if they got that lined up and permitted before the bylaw was approved by the AG's office, then it would be considered grandfathered. That would be
Okay.
my, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but that would be my thought.
I don't think it would even apply, because this says it votes to prohibit the building, construction, or permitting of any new landfill, trash dump, or fly ash facility. So I don't see where that becomes a landfill, trash dump, or fly ash facility.
Well, it's
And if DEP is going to allow you to cap it, then that has nothing to do with this bylaw, and if DEP doesn't like that, they'd force them to remove it.
all right.
Yeah,
So
Okay,
I
I
don't,
just-
I don't, I just
That's
don't
probably-
see where, I don't think the two are tied together.
no, I think it's different.
Well, it's a good question, though.
All right, I was asking the question, I don't know what the exact
I think that would-
definition of a landfill is,
I'd
but
like to
this
see them
is,
dig it out of there, and tell me you can't.
no, it's all over the place.
Of course it is.
So they can't remove it and take it to an existing landfill? Or don't you know?
From what they said, I'm on the redevelopment authority.
Right.
And what they said is that there's no one who will take it
Ah, okay.
because it's so dangerous. No one accepts it. So they have to remediate it on site.
Right.
That's awesome.
Very.
So, all right, that was my question.
You want a motion?
Yes, please.
Make a motion that we support Article 16, landfills, dumps, fly ash, and facilities prohibition, as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second to support Article 6, it's what, 15 now, did you say?
16.
I think it's 16, but again, that number might change, so it's good that
All right.
Mr. Jermaine
All right,
named it.
all right, so it's been moved and seconded to support what's currently listed as Article 16, landfills, dumps, fly ash, and facilities prohibition for the town warrant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Approved unanimously.
Good.
Good.
Thank you, thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Hard to read.
I appreciate it.
All right. Next up,
Speak up for 1 second.
Okay.
Carry on. These are just discussions, so you're.
they are. All right. Next up on the agenda is 134 Main Street violation.
Yeah, I had a call on that for the tree cutting, and you rode by, and I took a ride by. I didn't see anything going on, but Peg, that's the one that you've mentioned across from Eagle Gas. So about the fence and stuff, so we probably do need to go there at some point. Because
Okay.
Peg said she saw, you know.
Maybe, yeah, they put up the fence to block the trucks.
Yeah.
and-
So I'm not sure about the tree cutting stuff, but it might be worth going back, because he is right on the river.
Because it was awfully close to the river.
All right.
So we'll plan to go back maybe for the next meeting.
Okay, that Wednesday, the 21st, I guess?
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
appointments, right, for
Yeah.
the 21st? So,
Yep,
all right.
definitely, yep.
So we can put that on our site visit list for the morning of the 21st.
Yep.
Okay. 421. All right, Unit 2B, Shaw Road, shrub cutting. Is there anyone here?
Oh, yeah, you can come up. Is that, you can? Yes. Yeah, you can come on up.
Please sign in if you haven't on the on a clipboard.
Is there a pen? I can lend you my pen.
So if you remember, it came to our attention that there had been some shrub cutting at Unit 2B. We took a ride by. Remember, we saw
Yep.
the tops of the shrubs
Mm-hmm.
cut. So I called Ken and just wanted him to come in, talk to us about it.
All right. You can have a seat if you'd like to.
I'll stand if you don't mind.
All right, well, we got to have the microphone to hear you
Okay.
for the TV. All right, yeah, we did visit and see that there was a lot of trimming going on and some smaller trees taken down on the slope going down towards Sampson's Pond along the pathway that heads towards the beach and the boathouse. Can you explain what you're trying to accomplish there?
I was just following the commission's guidelines. I was here not too long, well, maybe a year ago, before the board on the agenda and asked what couldn't be done in terms of, clearing some shrubs to renew the view to the pond. And I was given, pretty specific instructions as to what to do. And the main one was not to cut any closer than 4 feet closer to the ground so as to preserve the root system and prevent erosion. So that's pretty much what I was doing. So I really don't understand why I'm here, I guess.
So I'm thinking, when Puppy came to the previous meeting, we were talking maybe about vista pruning, how that can be allowed.
Yes. Vista pruning can be allowed.
Right. And I mean, what we saw when we went this last time, I mean, he hadn't uprooted any trees or anything.
Now, how are you pretty much finished doing what you were planning to do?
Well, I had stopped at that point and getting tired after cutting. Again, there was brush, some small saplings, and briars, and I was just trying to renew the view, which this overgrowth had grown up. It was about maybe 12 inches to 18 inches a year. But before I did anything, I came before this board because, there's nobody that has greater appreciation for that area than I do, and I wanted to be a good steward, so I said, let me make sure that the commission knows exactly what I'm doing, and that's what I was doing. So I went out and I cut, within 4 feet. There were, some small saplings, but nothing very big. And, according to what the commission had asked me to do the last time I was here, I'm not sure, if there's a violation or, am I in violation of your conditions?
Well, I guess there's a gray area or a fine line between what would be considered understory and canopy. Canopy being the trees, the saplings may qualify as canopy because they do protect the sun, the understory from the sun and filter the rain. And in the case of canopy, only 10% of what's there can be removed. So while the understory, the lower growth can be cut, the saplings and any other trees that extend higher, it's basically you can cut 1 out of 10 if they're all about the same size.
So how did you define a canopy again? I guess I'm not sure.
The canopy is trees. The canopy, the trees, they bloom out on top, and they create a canopy over everything else, which
Right.
protects the ground and keeps it moist, keeps the sun off it all the time. And under Massachusetts general law, under vista pruning, only 10% of the canopy can be removed. So that means if every tree is the same diameter, only 1 out of 10 trees can be removed in a particular area. So while it's less concerning that you're trimming the undergrowth to the 4 feet, it's the trees that really have to remain, going down the slope.
Is there a specific diameter of a tree or a height that?
It really has nothing to do, as far as I know, it has nothing to do with the diameter of the tree. It's its coverage. It's the canopy it creates. It doesn't say that you can remove 1 out of 10 trees. It says you can remove 10% of the canopy. So it's whatever that canopy is, and it's a judgment call really, but that's what the Mass General Law says. So trees pretty much can be thinned a little bit, but they cannot be cut down. The understory, if you keep it at 4 feet, that's good because that will keep the erosion from
Right.
happening.
did any members go out and take a look at this and see what I had done, or?
We did, we looked at it, and I think that we did see that there were some trees that were on the slope going down, probably 25, 30-foot saplings, and that would be considered canopy. So those would have to remain.
Okay, because nothing I cut down was higher than, I want to say maybe 8 or 10 feet.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Would that be considered part of the canopy?
Probably not,
No.
but anything, I would think that any tree, I'm guessing here, any tree with a 4 or 5 inch diameter is probably going to be 20 feet tall,
I got you.
and those would be considered canopy because
So
they're,
a 2-inch diameter is
Yeah.
okay to just thin.
I don't want to get into specifics. It's really what you're looking at, what you want to do. What the canopy does is the canopy protects the understory from the direct sun. It keeps it cooler, keeps it moister, and makes the undergrowth grow better. So that's why the canopy is important, especially within the 100 feet of any wetlands, because the objective is to keep all of the undergrowth growing so that the root systems filter all the rainwater and other waters that work their way into the aquifer.
Right.
So that's why-
That's the way it was explained to me from both Brooke and the
Yeah.
commission last time, so I get that. I just
Yeah.
don't want to come into a situation where I have, someone making a complaint about something that I'm doing. I want to make sure I'm within the guidelines of the commission.
Yeah.
Right.
So can I get a letter from the commission stating what's acceptable, stating the 10% canopy?
I think we can do that.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right, I appreciate that. And that
Okay.
way,
Okay.
we probably won't have any issues, but,
Yeah.
right,
all right.
right,
Okay.
right.
Thank you. And.
Yes,
You have
anyone else from the, yes?
I think this gentleman has done enough to the area in question.
I'm going to need you to switch seats or,
Go ahead, I'm done.
all right.
And your name?
Please sign in and state your name and address.
Martin Zeckley, I live at 4 Shaw Road. Is there a pen? I think there should be a cease and desist order. I think this gentleman has done enough to the area. I've lived at 4 Shaw Road for 7 years, and that area in question offers me a protection from viewing buildings and junk. The cutting was not just done with underbrush. It was done with trees that have been growing there for quite some time. He went down the hill with a pair of loppers and went crazy just to affect his view, alleged view of the pond. Now, if you're in the area, you see trees covering the pond, especially in the summer. And on the other side, it covers the pond, especially in the summer. So what he's doing is not even effectuating his view. It's not even improving his view. In the summertime, the trees are all covering the pond. If you go and look where he's been cutting, it's not going to make a difference. So, aside from the fact that we live in an association, and he just moved in a year ago, he didn't want to become a trustee. He was kind of thrown into the position. He volunteered to do it for a year and then give up the position. So, we are supposed to have meetings like this in the association, which we don't have. And just him having a title of a trustee figures he can do whatever he wants. It's 7 years I've been there. I've had a problem with the trustees doing whatever they want.
Mr. Seckley,
That's
I
no effect
understand
on
what you're
the-
saying, but
yeah.
it really has no,
But what I just
No
want to
effect
have
on
a
what we-
cease and desist order done or he's going to have to be supervised or told exactly what to do. If you give him a general letter, he's going to do damage to things that can't be reversed. And actually, I think he should have to replant trees that he's damaged already. There should be a fine imposed and replace the trees.
He damaged that much. Did he damage that much?
It's not just brush he's cutting down. He
I
asked me,
think-
he did ask me, he said, oh, you wouldn't mind if I cut these trees down? He said, yes, I do. I said, you can clean the thorn bushes out, and you can clean underneath the leaves if you want. You can plant grass and flowers underneath if you want, but don't cut the trees down. Not to mention the erosion and what you had touched base on.
I think perhaps another visit
Yeah, I don't
is
remember
warranted.
any trees being cut down, but maybe I'm wrong. Do you
Well,
remember?
we can look.
Yeah.
We should put that on our list of
Okay.
another site
Do you
visit.
remember, Jim?
No, I don't remember.
I don't
that,
remember
'cause
any big
we
trees.
go over to there generally, that side as much, we went.
Yeah, I mean, I
other
remember
direction.
some, the tops of some small shrubs, but I don't remember trees,
It's all
but,
briars and brush and garbage all the way down to the pond area.
Right.
If you leave it alone, it grows back out of sight, out of control, and it becomes a big forest all
Right.
over again.
right.
So it's not like we're strip clearing the land. I
No.
think this goes way over and above. Obviously, there's an issue with the two neighbors that we don't have any business getting involved in at all. We should do a site visit,
Yep.
make sure that what he's done is okay, and the neighbors can hash it out on their own.
Right. Yeah, I think,
Doesn't
ano-
involve us.
right, but I think another site visit
Yeah.
is perhaps necessary,
Yeah,
and
I feel like we're
maybe,
missing
sir, you could join us there if you, for the site visit. We can just take a look and
Yeah.
see, and make a determination there.
I think we should make a time. I think we should invite this gentleman also to be there.
Yeah,
So
'Cause
that
I think
everybody's
I was
out in the
gonna
open
miss
and
something.
everybody can point out everything they want us to see. To sit back and write an arbitrary cease and desist order is
No, I
not
wasn't.
fair to anybody.
That was not a cease and desist.
know,
It
so-
was not going to be that. It was going to just be a letter
I think it
explaining.
needs to be looked at,
All right.
just my opinion.
I think, what is your schedule, sir? I mean, what is your availability?
I'm available anytime after, say, 6 o'clock or on weekends.
Okay.
After 10 on a Saturday morning?
And Mr. Seckley?
You normally do field site visits on Wednesdays? I'll
Well,
be
it could be
available
at 6
Wednesday.
o'clock. I mean,
Yeah, I
that would
mean-
actually work. Next week sometime at 6, it's still daylight. We still got plenty of light.
Next week's a busy week.
yeah.
A meeting
How about,
Yeah, Tom.
how about the Wednesday, of the meeting?
before the meeting.
Yeah, we could do it.
2 weeks from tonight, the 21st, at say 6 o'clock,
6 o'clock.
Yeah, then we can leave there and come right
and then we
here.
can come here for our meeting at 7.
Okay, so I'll be on site at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, is that okay with you?
That's fine.
All right,
Okay, 6,
we'll do that
On
then,
the 23rd,
okay.
21st,
21st.
2 weeks from tonight.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Thank you.
that a good
Thank you.
for everyone?
Very much.
Thanks, Martin.
All right.
Xavier, I think that if there is a trustee agreement in place for this, I think we should consider telling the trustees that they're responsible for their failure to act and steer people there. So whether we should then say we might want to consider putting a fine on them.
Let's see what they've done first.
Okay.
I did, when I sent, Ken, the notification, asking him to come in, I
Yeah.
did copy the head trustee of the association.
Good.
He gave me his number, so they're aware of what's going on, so, if it's an
But
issue
I'm-
with the association, that's not really our.
No.
No, but it would be a way of putting pressure on them to control their
To
members.
enforce it, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Because
okay.
we had another issue at the other place.
Let's go take a closer look.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe we can identify and tag things that we think can't be touched,
I-
that create the canopy.
Okay, that's.
I honestly don't remember a lot of trees being cut. I
They
just-
were down the hill,
But he didn't cut those.
not yet.
I remember the shrubs up, okay, yeah, okay, we need to go.
Take a look.
Anybody's backyard?
Okay,
No, we stopped him before it got to that point. Anyway, all right, next up on the agenda, 201 Tremont Street,
that's on the 21st.
that's on for the 21st.
Yep, Danny and the consultant are gonna come in.
All right, and
Stop
find,
work order is still in place, am I
Yep,
correct?
he said he's not gonna do any more work,
Yep.
yep.
Wasn't that nice?
okay. And last on our discussions in business, sponsorship of the Orange Trail and the Cole property suspension bridge. This is sponsorship only.
This is the Badger Bridge, isn't it?
No.
I wasn't going to say it. I'm not going to go there.
It's becoming the badge of property, the whole area.
Basically,
For Dan.
the
I'd like to speak up for the muskrats in this case.
The Boy Scouts, along with other volunteers, are building a suspension bridge on the Orange Trail in the Cole property to go across a very wet area, extremely wet.
Great idea.
We were
Oh,
out
you
there
should
the
see it.
other
It's gonna be
day,
Beautiful.
and
They're getting CPC money.
right, and there's a proposal for Community Preservation Act funding in front of the Community Preservation Committee, or that will be voted on. The CPC has already approved it. It will be going to town meeting on Tuesday for the town to vote on the funding for this bridge. And the project needs just sponsorship. We are not voting to ask for the money. The money will not come to conservation. We're just sponsoring it as we just did with Article 15. So, Dan, is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
I would like to mention that the property itself is under the conservation restriction of the Audubon Society, and their representative actually walked the property with us and saw they wrote a support letter as well that was submitted with the project proposal to the Preservation Committee. The representative was able to have a site visit of the work site, and was very pleased with the proposal, but also reiterated her support of the project, which obviously carries a lot of weight based on their connection with the property itself. So, to be clear, any funds are going to the approved, the construction company that got approved to be in charge of this project, and its focus is materials and permitting. The rest is going to be skilled and in-kind labor to actually execute the project itself. So, again, no funds will be coming to conservation, but because of, for procedural reasons, the project does need an official
Okey-dokey.
sponsorship.
Okay.
Okey-dokey.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
What Dan said is very important, because there was an article in Wicked Local last week that was completely incorrect, because it was stating that conservation money was being used, $25,000, as a matter of fact, was being used for this suspension bridge, that we were requesting this money at town meeting. That was absolutely incorrect.
Oh, my God.
So I sent an email off. I believe it was corrected, but the article was corrected, but the title to the article was not shown to have a revision or a retraction. So kind of, if you've read it, you probably don't go back and read it again, because it's the same article you think you've already read. So that's important, that this is understood. This is not conservation money.
Right.
As far as I know, it's not town money either. I think it's CPC funds.
It's
right?
CPC funding, yes.
That's all I got. I'm in favor of this. This is a great idea.
All right, so I'll accept a motion to sponsor
So
the
moved.
Orange Trail. So moved. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a second. So all those in favor of sponsoring the Orange Trail Suspension Bridge on the Cole property, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None.
Abstain?
All right.
I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining.
Yeah.
Oh, 401.
Sorry. I authored the proposal. I felt it
Probably
appropriate
should.
to.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there's no financial gain in it for you, so, but okay.
No. I'll actually be in the negative personally on it, but
As
All right.
it should be.
All right, 401.
thank you.
Okay, very good.
We do the minutes at the end?
Yes, we will. We'll move right along now. We'll get to our next, our new hearings.
You okay?
Yeah, they're out there.
I think that's Montello Street.
Huh?
That's Montello. Did you see Kevin Grady?
Yeah, he's out here.
All right,
Oh,
ready?
If
Okay.
I could just make a note, just want to make a comment on the subject matter that we just did support. There are a lot of other projects that may be coming down the pike, and I think it's really important that not only we as a commission, but the town understand exactly where the monies come from, what is the fiscal conduit for those projects, and more importantly, what organizations and companies are actually putting in volunteer time to make these true community projects happen. And so I would encourage anyone seeking information about these projects to talk directly to the point of contact for any of these projects, because they're going to be the ones to know about them. I can say, for example, that article that was mentioned, nobody ever called or asked me a single question about it. And I'd be happy to talk about it and encourage others to help develop other projects, whether it be in conservation or whether it be for seniors, whether it be for families, whether it be for the disabled, whatever. There are a lot of conduits in this town to be able to execute projects that will make this town better, but I think keeping everyone's facts straight and everyone's motivations true will make more of these projects available to other groups to be able to move forward on them rather than worrying about what people are going to think. If the project is what the town and the people want, then it'll happen and the support will be there. But the one thing I just want lastly that I'd like to say to any naysayers with any of these projects, either have a counter solution to projects and problems, or do a little bit more fact finding, and I think you'll find that you'll have more partnerships available to you than enemies. And so I just mention that because this is a very positive thing, and there are a lot more like them out there. There are a lot of people besides us in this room that have a lot of great ideas that can contribute to this town, and I just want to make sure that they're not discouraged from jumping into the fold either.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. And while we're on the subject, since there were two things that were brought up, there's something else I just would like to add so it's on the record. Mr. Germain mentioned an error in Carver Reporter and on their online website, Wicked Local Carver, and we had talked about CPC funding. I just want to point out that there was also another error in the same article that said regarding CPC funding and another project that has to deal with the Buzzards Bay Coalition.
That's right.
And their request for money to purchase property in South Carver to be put in conservation land forever. The newspaper and the website said that the Buzzards Bay Coalition requested the funds in conjunction with the Conservation
in
Commission.
partnership.
And I just want to set the record straight that that was not the case. This was entirely the Buzzards Bay Coalition requesting the funding.
Yeah.
We as a board did support the idea of doing this because anything that could get conservation land protected forever is a great thing for Carver, but we did not request any money at all. That was totally the Buzzards Bay Coalition. So again, we support the idea and we hope that it gets voted upon at town meeting, but we were not working in conjunction with them to request this money. Okay, that being said, all right. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:15 p.m. on Wednesday, April 7th in Meeting Room 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the notice of intent filed by David Mulcahy of 1929 Development, the applicant, for the construction of a warehouse building and associated parking lot. A portion of the proposed building, gravel drive, and infiltration basin stormwater management measures are located within the 100-foot buffer to a bordering vegetated wetland. No work is proposed within the 65-foot buffer protected under the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw. The project is located at 157 North Main Street, Carver, Massachusetts, map 24, parcels 4A, B, and C. All interested parties are invited to attend. Gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, I figured we saw him today, and I figured I thought it was like.
Yeah, we already, yeah, we did, yeah, we did.
I saw it today, yeah.
Oh, look at that.
I was just saying I did too. I'm good.
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, you need to take that plexiglass thing down and make it easy for us to see the board, feel free.
Yep, that's fine.
Things are goofy.
Thank you for asking. Do you need a hand? If there's two of you, you can bring that like chair over.
They don't even work anyway, do they?
Well, they don't, I mean, they're
I
goofy.
don't know what they do, but.
And if you could have both just sign, please. Sure. Thank you.
We do here tonight, we use your plan to sign off if we do anything.
Okay. Well, we're gonna,
I think we're gonna continue.
Yeah,
yeah.
Sorry about that. Needed to take care of some formalities.
Okay?
We ready to go?
Yes, we are.
Kevin Grady from Grady Consulting, here along with David Mulcahy, the owner and applicant for the proposed project. As you read into the opening of the meeting, project is the construction of a 5,000 square foot building, associated parking lot, grading, drainage basin within the 100-foot buffer zone, which is the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. The wetland resource area was delineated by John Zimmer, Southeast Environmental, reviewed and accepted by the commission previously. The applicant, as you've seen, is O'Deere is the company that occupies the property. If you've been by, you've noticed they've grown rather quickly and have lots of vehicles, and they're in need to expand their property. That's the reason for the proposed project.
Some of the big.
These big plans.
So as,
bring us the ones that are on index cards.
Yeah. The microphones need a mask.
A little teeny weeny plane.
I'll get you 11 by 17s next time, but then we'll all need binoculars to see them, so it's a tough balance.
Yeah.
As you indicated in the opening, there's no work proposed within 65 feet of the bordering vegetated wetland. Therefore, there's obviously no direct impact to the resource area. We're not excavating in there. So we've maintained that 65-foot no disturb zone. The area between there is to be maintained and as a mature woodland, which provides buffering and protection of the resource area and helps us meet the interests, the protected interests of the State Wetland Protection Act, as well as the Carver bylaw. The lot consists of 202,000 square feet in total. Both projects combined impact about 19,500 square feet of the overall buffer zone to the border and vegetated wetland. So at the end of this, what we have proposed will maintain 70% of the overall 100-foot buffer zone of the overall property, over 3 acres. The total area of the 100-foot buffer zone on the property is 62,000 square feet. So what we're proposing to impact is, for the overall, including the previous development, is less than 20,000 square feet. This phase, we're looking at 13,000 square feet. So the project, the layout of the project is we've placed the building as far from the resource area and the buffer zone as we can. We've put the building right to the minimum zoning setback from the front lot line to maximize our space. The applicant is in need of parking, and that's the reason for his expansion. In order to allow for emergency access, we needed to pave around the entire building to get emergency vehicles, and it's also going to help with circulation of his existing vehicles, et cetera. Even though this isn't necessarily the purview of the commission, you've been by, you've seen the building, they're basically gonna build the same architectural style. Figured I'd just show you that, just to get a visual of what here's the front elevation, which is what everybody will see, and then the rear and the two sides. The light gray on this plan is the existing parking lot. The dark gray is what we're proposing to pave. So there'll be a couple of parking spaces to the rear here. The buffer zone, which you can't really see, I probably should use a different color for this, is right through here. So this is the portion of the work within the buffer zone. A corner of the building and this portion of the parking lot. We are proposing to bring in some fill, about 4 feet max, and down to 0. And then we're gonna slope that down with riprap and stabilize that and protect the buffer zone. The drainage on the site is set up to run the stormwater off of the parking lot from the high point here of 84 down to 81.4 in this location. That will be routed through a sediment forebay and then into an infiltration basin located here. The stormwater will also flow from elevation 86 in the front back to this corner and through the same sediment forebay. We are proposing silt sock erosion control at the limit of work for the project to mitigate erosion and sedimentation to the mature wetland that we are proposing to maintain. So the area from here back will be maintained as a mature woodland. All of this as part of the lot is bordering vegetated wetland, which will be protected by not, in perpetuity, no development is proposed. And at this point, we're pretty much maxed out the areas that can be developed outside of the 65-foot no disturb zone. The couple other quick things. The project proposes to utilize the existing septic system, which is already constructed and is located on under the existing parking lot. So that'll be outside the buffer zone. There's no other utilities proposed there. This building is not proposed to store any chemicals or any product. And so in this building as well, we'll have a floor drain system that will discharge to a dual-walled holding tank, tight tank holding tank that'll be pumped when it gets filled. That's the general outline of the project, and I guess I'll take any questions you might have at this point and get the discussion going.
Does anyone like to
just-
start?
Be my guest, Mr. Chairman, because I'm chomping at the bit to come right behind you.
Well, first of all, I don't think we're going to be reaching a decision tonight.
Sure.
I've been informed by the conservation agent that there's a technical review committee meeting later this week, is that correct?
It's next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday? Okay. Which involves a lot of the different departments within
Yeah.
town government. And there's a chance that one of the members of this commission will be there as well.
No problem with that. We understand this
Just,
project is going to be reviewed by multiple people and maybe changes that we need to reflect on any order conditions, so no issues there.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
I guess the biggest concern that I have is the amount of pavement within the 100 feet. Because that becomes a pervious surface. Generally, we we allow some impervious surfaces between the 100 and the 65, but that doesn't negate the necessity of the 100-foot. The state guidelines for alteration within 100 feet that need our permission, they're there for a reason. And that's because, again, just as I said earlier to the gentlemen that were here, the root structure of all of the understory and undergrowth and trees that are within the 100-foot buffer are necessary for the filtration of any kind of water that goes into the wetlands. It's all part of the ecosystem that goes in. And, you know, if you wanted to pave a small area that led to the two bays in the back, you know, that's a lot less damaging than paving the entire area, including the large parking area to the south, and also paving even though it's outside the 100-foot jurisdiction, in front of the building. That doesn't really come in under our purview. But it seems to me that there's an awful lot of impervious surface going in between the 100-foot buffer and the 65-foot buffer. And I'm not very happy with that. I don't think that is what the intent of the Mass General 100-foot buffer is. I think it's our job to do whatever we can to protect that and keep it as a pervious surface as much as possible. You had mentioned that the fire department required a paved road going around the building. I notice in the existing building that the road that is behind the building on the side that doesn't have the bays, it's gravel, so it's not paved. And I would think that if it was okay for that building, it would be okay for this building.
So you would be in favor if we considered other surfaces within the 100-foot buffer in that area?
I think that from the standpoint of what I saw, that's my largest concern. You know, obviously, there is part of the building that goes within the 100 feet. It's a little bit more of this building that's within the 100 feet than the smaller building. And I believe that when we first looked at that, did we move anything when we first did, when you were doing the first building?
No.
We did,
I don't think so.
No?
we might have made a small adjustment.
I thought
Oh,
we
might
had.
have, yeah, I think.
So,
back a little bit.
You know, things like that. I'm just trying to look at things that we possibly could do to help alleviate as much encroachment as is there right now. For instance, on the south side, you've got 6 parking spaces on the very south edge of the of your area that you are planning to either pave or do gravel. 3 of those spaces are within the 100 feet, 3 are not. Now, I'm assuming that because they're parking spaces, they aren't needed for turning the trucks or getting the trucks in and out of those 2 bays. So if they could be eliminated and kept open, that would help. I understand that you have your water going in that direction down that corner, but I'm just looking for any kind of possible ways to reduce the footprint within the 100-foot buffer zone and to make it more so groundwater can get through and go down into the ecosystem that's currently there now. Again, we're going to go. The technical review committee, I'm sure, is going to have a lot of other questions about this. But from the standpoint of conservation and me, can't speak for the board, but me, that's. I think there's an awful lot of damage being done within the 100-foot buffer between the 100-foot and 65-foot in this particular case. And it just seems like we always talk about precedent. It opens the floodgates for anybody else. You know, if we give you 10,000 square feet of paving in 100-foot, then the next guy's going to want 20. And, where does it stop? So that's my main concern. Right.
As a designer and somebody who works in, multiple jurisdictions, you're allowed to work in the 100-foot buffer, and we've, proposed similar projects throughout the state. You specifically have a 65-foot no disturb zone that's written right in your bylaw, and we read that, respect it, and held it. When I read your bylaw, it doesn't say that you can't pave within the 100-foot buffer zone. It talks about impacts and protecting the interests.
Yes, but it also says with permission.
Oh, yeah, I'm not,
Right.
that's not even part of the debate, but as a.
Right.
Or discussion, not even gonna debate it. It's you define the limits of where we can work and say we can't use 65, but you don't talk about that you can't have pavement in that. So we designed it based on the needs of the applicant, and we respected the 65-foot no disturb zone, and then we met all the state standards for stormwater, which also protect the interests of the state wetlands protection regulations. And I understand woods is better, right?
Yeah.
But the owner needs this space for his growing business. He doesn't want to wreck the wetlands. He wants to be a good steward in the town of Carver and be a participant. So we came up with this layout, and we will take another look at those items you are mentioning, specifically changing the surface cover from impervious pavement. We take a look at the area here that you talked about, where the 6
Yeah.
spaces are.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, one of the main things that he's struggling with here is parking. The business is growing, and they're a little tight on their parking already. So he's got a good problem there that he's trying to remedy. This end of the building is an end-feed garage, and he does have some trucks that need to have access to that.
I understand that.
As you saw today,
Yeah.
they're not 18-wheelers, so he doesn't need a ton of space to make that turn. But
Right.
we are, in the design, we were, trying to make sure he's got maneuvering room. We can also, one of the main things we were looking at is getting a fire truck around this building. That comes up in every town. We have competing interests in the approving authorities. The fire department also has regulations, and we will talk to them and see if gravel is okay, and see what they think about, being able to get around this building if we tighten up that parking. So I completely understand what you're saying, and I just want you to know that we are not just arbitrarily filling the 65-foot, or,
I understand that.
filling the wetlands.
I understand that. I know that you're doing your best to stay out of the 65, which you've done a great job at. But it just goes, I just want to go back to what the state law does state that between 65 and 100, you need our permission, which gives us the leeway to say yes or no.
Yep.
And if everything was always a yes, then there would be no need for that law. So, I mean, by putting that language in there, it gives us the opportunity to look at things and see what we can do, working with you and working with the applicant, to try to come to a compromise that is the best for both worlds. That's what we're looking to do.
And I've written down your comments, and we will discuss them and
Okay.
come back with
Great,
options.
great.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
the fire department will be at the TRC meeting, so that
Okay.
the issue with the fire,
Okay.
that will be.
Yep. Can I go to Mr. Badger first? Mr. Badger?
So a couple things. The 100-foot line is I appreciate you've worked in different areas of the state. One of the issues for us, being very careful about the 100-foot barrier as well, is not to give you a hydrology lesson, but the topography here is such that our water table is very close to the surface, so we're very protective of our drinking water. Okay, and when we look at different cases, and it has to be on a case-by-case basis, in some regard, is based on, your request isn't just having, I hadn't even gotten quite to the paving part of things yet. If my math is correct, you have a little over 800 square feet of building going into the 100-foot space, not a corner of a building. It's quite a bit more than just the corner of the building. So when you do go back to the drawing board and reevaluating all the different things that your line items that you're going to be looking at, you might consider, for the sake of efficiency and for maybe helping this progress in a more forward fashion, maybe cutting down on the square footage of the building itself to accommodate your safety needs with the fire department. That'd be, one suggestion. I think I can speak with everybody here to say that we want to work with everybody to encourage, businesses in both a legal and ethical and a fashion that is going to protect our wetlands and protect our drinking water, to protect our health. So that's the motivation behind it. It's not just so that we feel like we have control over yeses and nos. That really is irrelevant. It really, how is this going to affect our drinking water, and then we kind of work backwards from there. So just to give you an idea of what when you're putting this together, something to definitely consider as you're refashioning your proposal.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Mr. Jermaine?
I have the drawing.
Yes, you may.
They're much nicer than I'm gonna be. I remember this project when it first came up and the original building went in, and the nice people that lived next door came in and gave us a historical lesson on the massive amount of wetlands that's behind this whole project, and the aquifer and the water and everything else. And at that time, there's no doubt you stepped up to the plate. We built the building, or you built the building, you conformed. There's a little tiny, tiny corner of that building that's within the 100, and now suddenly we're looking at what I see as trying to squeeze every drop of everything you can possibly get on this site. And it's 12 feet off the 65 in the back corner. You want to throw a massive amount of asphalt that we never allow, ever allow in this kind of an area. This sets up the Conservation Commission in the future for the next guy coming down the road, that we might as well just throw the bylaws in the trash and let them build whatever the hell they want. I think that this needs to be looked at much more carefully than it is right now. It needs to, however you need it, maybe you can move it over closer to the house. I think that there's just too much you're asking for within this 100-foot buffer. And it's not just the 100-foot. This is chemicals. This is a chemical spraying company, and this is a massive amount of wetlands out in the backyard here. And I'm the easiest guy on this commission. I'm the first one to sit back and say, you know what, we're being unfair. But this is like, I think we're asking for too much. I'm being honest with you. I don't know how my fellow members will think, but I'm looking at this green dotted line that, for me personally, it's too much to ask. I think this needs to be looked at. I'm not telling you need to cut your building back down to next to nothing. I get why you're only 40 feet from the street, and the building's only 40 feet, because frankly, that's all you can squeeze in there. I understand that. And you can't put front garage doors on it, because then you can't get in from the front. That's why there's a entry coming in the side. There's just a whole bunch of stuff. I think that we had done something with these parking spaces on the original proposal because it was too close to the buffer line, and there were changes that were made back then. And this project worked out well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the original project, I believe, was attached to the house. And then it got detached from the house.
Yeah, that was for zoning. Yeah.
Exactly.
zoning,
So,
fire code.
you know, this went through zoning, it went through planning. This was a gestation period of an elephant in order to get this done. And I get that. And it was a lot of
I felt
sweat,
it.
blood, and tears. But this is, in my estimation, I think that we're just asking for way too much at one whack.
Okay.
I think this needs to be looked at. I'd like to see a continuance.
Well, we
They're
will
gonna
do that.
for the-
Ms.
yeah.
Blackwell, anything?
No, I would echo everything that's been said, and wetlands, we've had this discussion before, approximately 50% of this town is wetlands, which is why we have the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw. You're probably looking at this, maybe year or so. I've driven past this many, many years, and this is a major wetland. We're in a drought right now. It doesn't look half bad. You've still got like a little stream going in there. You wait till it rains. It's a wetland. It definitely is, and we're pushing it. You've also got the weight of the building that's going to go on top of it, that's going to push more water out. You got trucks coming and going. I mean, the runoff, ideally, sure, it all goes in the drainage basement, but we know it doesn't. You get a heavy rain, forget it. You got more and more wetlands. And you could be buying yourself a problem here. I mean, I will tell the story. When they first went out to try to perk it, the machine they used sank, and they had to get a bigger one in to pull it out. That's how wet that land is. And anyone who lives near it, I think, will totally agree. I mean, we've been looking at it for years. You haven't. So trust me, it is really a very wet wetland. And for that reason, we don't want to take any more trees down. Trees help with the stabilization there, and you're going to have to take trees down.
Strip clear.
Right,
So
Mr. Now?
it's, the product, I mean, I'm sorry for your troubles, and I understand why you want it, but when you bought it, nothing has changed. It is what you bought. It's a wetland. That's why there was nothing there for years, because it was a wetland, and they couldn't get it approved. So you're probably not aware of the whole history, but I think Mr. Nash over there would, no disagreements there. They know well what we're talking about.
And you will have a chance to speak. I just want to finish
Yeah,
to see if
all right,
Mr.
we'll get Mr. Nolan, your turn.
Yeah, one thing that I'm seeing is the 100-foot line is not on sheet 3 of 8, and it would, that has the most detail of the development, and I think it's necessary to put that on there.
It is on there, it's just green. I probably should have chosen a different color, although I think you guys regulate what color I'm supposed to put it on.
Yeah, it could be green, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
think it was
green.
green on the thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of runs.
Okay, you say it's on there, eh?
Is it there? Yeah. I think it's real light, Jim, it's hard
Oh,
to see.
God, okay.
I mean, you can see it
Yeah, it
here.
fades out.
You lose it in the gray.
Yeah.
But you can see it going through the
Okay,
building
thanks,
there.
Avery.
Okay.
Mill's right in there.
So we've, we now have the ability to print nice color plans and put transparencies on them, and
Yep.
it does help visually be able to see it from across the room, but when you start to get drilled down to what color a line should be,
Yeah.
it starts to,
Right.
fight.
Yeah, it's there.
It is there.
We're good.
I mean, actually, sheet 4 is in color, and you can
Yeah.
see it there more clearly.
Okay. Do you have any other comments, Jim?
No, that's, I mean,
Mr. Jermaine, you have one more thing?
I agree with the other things that have been said, but that
right.
was my,
Just so you know, I think that I'm absolutely pro-business. I absolutely want to see you succeed. We all know how the first building got put up, and we all know everything that was done over that whole period of time. I think that you need to look and maybe be a little bit more conservative and come back with something that's not quite so Peg's right. We get a hard rainstorm, and you won't be able to walk out to where you're putting this building. You'll be in to your thighs in mud. Because that whole area, as soon as you drop off that upper surface, you're going. So that means you gotta strip clear this land, pull all them stumps out, then you gotta bring material in. And you gotta bring material in, stabilize it, compact it, and my personal belief is that will support a smaller structure, but I really don't see that it's gonna support something this big. I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but I think you're trying to squeeze 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag, and I think that's gonna be a challenge.
All right, I also want to just point out, and I think we can all remember back when we first went and looked at this, that the wetlands delineation was a bone of contention.
Yeah.
Because there were pockets of dry and pockets of
Yeah.
wet and pockets of dry.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we sort of relented and said, okay,
Yeah.
if this is all you're doing, we're going to let you go and do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
As we saw today, there was a little pool of water right where the structure is planned on going.
Yeah.
And we haven't had enough rain to fill a thimble recently. So it's just that, we're aware of how wet that is. Even outside of the wetlands delineation, it's still awfully wet. So I just wanted to point that out going from
Yeah.
where we were.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I will, Mr. Nash, I will allow you to speak if you would like to.
Yes, yeah, I know Dave, nothing against Dave, but I'll tell you.
Can you sit at the table, please, and sign in?
Actually, why don't we, okay, I was gonna say we should give them Dan's microphone, then they can answer, but that's all right.
All right, if we need to do that, we can.
Sandra, should we raise the possibility of they're not paving that area around the second building? Keeping
I did.
gravel?
I did. They said they were going to talk to the fire
I've
department.
never heard the fire department make that requirement.
I don't think that.
Gentlemen, when I first met Leah, I made test drills in that property. And the closer we get to the back of that property, the operator screamed at us, "Mr. Nash, you gotta see this, it's pure ocean clay back there." That's the honest to God's truth. When the first building went up there, I have nothing against Dave, but I'll tell you, we have lost so many trees since they built that building with our land that was wet. We got massive pine trees coming down. Leah can verify, she's been there about 50 years, I've been there 22 years. The drainage has got to be corrected in the present building before they go to another building. It's bad back there. I wish you could come down and take a look. You would not believe it.
Mr. Nash,
Yes.
just for the point of the hearing, if you would drop your mask.
Thank
so
you.
that-
Yeah, if you're comfortable
Yeah,
doing that.
so we
that's fine.
can, we can hear you better.
The present building that's there now, near our property, we have lost more trees in the last 4 years than we have lost in 50 solid years because the drainage has been affected. The holding bin is getting us holding the water now the water's been held back. The trees now is just standing there in water. We had huge pines going over, huge pines. And you look under the roots, there's nothing but water, and that wasn't there before. I don't mind the new construction, but please solve the old construction. Solve the water problem. The way we're going, Leah knows, we're going to be living in the desert back there. Dave, you've seen it. You've been out, you've seen the trees come down.
Oh, I can speak after.
If you'd like to use the microphone over here, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, so Dave Mulcahy, owner of 157 North Main. At the beginning of the construction, as we were tied up, whatever, to the boards or whatever it was, before the basin in the back was finished, there was water that was running on the backside. It did believe it took out 2 or 3 trees. We don't know if that was due to a 60-mile-per-hour windstorm or coming across that open area before a building was up. We did address it right away, and we did, we did pay for the cleanup of those trees to be taken off. They were all on our neighbor's property, but we decided that it was best that we provide the cleanup of it. And then I believe in the last heavy storm we had, windstorm, one went down on the backside. Since then, I haven't seen water running off 157 North into that property.
Now, Dave, you're losing it there. What you gotta realize, you're holding the water back in your water container unit, and the water's going into the ground, and any trees near that container, they're just going over. They're welcome to take a walk. She can tell you, we've had 2 huge trees, pines going down, they're enormous. Has to be at least 15, 20 foot diameter root span. Now they're sideways, hanging up in the big trees.
Yeah, I
Come on.
can't speak of how water changes. I do know that the way it's designed is to be pushed out and then to go out. I do know that there has been heavy wind and clearing. I would say that swash of land, we noticed coming across from the plaza across the street, that we get quite a bit of wind. And we have some arborvitaes that we added in to kind of block the trucks from the street or the parking area from the street, and those even have a kind of a tilt to them, or a wind rash of the leaves are curling on the back, on the front side to the back.
Right.
So we're doing our best to maintain. We feel like we've cleaned up the area, that property quite a bit, maintain the use of the property, be also, good stewards to the environment. We've already started to take care of that issue on the right-hand side at this point.
Yeah. And Dave, I'd appreciate if you could solve the original problem with the trees, because it's bad back there. I mean, Aaliyah, would you?
Isn't his property high?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Leah has pictures to show the Conservation Committee. You're not gonna believe these pictures.
We lost Todd's
Yeah, but
person.
it still runs.
Then he supposedly fixed it.
Get all these old trees.
This one keeled over and took blueberry bushes and everything else with it.
Okay.
Because they're all dying.
And it's still wet underneath it,
They've run there.
even today.
And where approximately is this in relationship to their property?
It's in back.
We have the, if you could,
I know we were getting some stuff.
This is where they're,
Okay, well, it would be in here.
That'd be over here.
So were they drowned in the trees?
Yeah, we didn't.
could be, the tree was uprooted.
And these are mature trees.
Right.
So this has always been soaking wet. This is out of sight soaking wet, even though it's outside the 100. It's still soaking wet.
The hole where the water was?
That was right here.
Trees that have fallen.
That was right here.
Just off my mind.
Okay, all right. Yeah, let's get back. I hear your concerns regarding that. Obviously, history is on your side in saying that this hasn't happened before, but there's no real way of knowing if it's the age of the tree, if it's the wind, if it is the fact that the ground is more saturated than it was before. There are a number of if you go around town, and we had some 60, 70 mile an hour winds this winter, and trees that you never thought would go over, even trees on my property went over that were healthy and got uprooted, and I'm dry.
The only trees that have gone over where Dave is watching the water.
I don't think it has to do with this project.
That's the only area. The water is blocked, the water can run through it. It's like a dam. Basically, the trees are going down, just sitting in the water.
But that's on his side over there, with all due respect. That has nothing to do.
Right.
That's always been real wet. I mean,
Yeah.
It's always-
Very, very wet.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Make a motion to continue.
Second.
Hold on.
I just want to make sure.
Continue?
Miss, do you want to say anything? Or
No,
No?
actually, the only thing I was about to say.
you can use this microphone right here, please. I just want to make sure everyone gets a chance to
The
speak.
only issue about the trees, the front trees, with all the wind and rain and everything else we've had, are all standing, not one has gone down. The only trees going down are the ones down and back. And
They're
they're
in the
going
wet.
down one after another.
Not surprising.
Dead trees now. All the new dead trees.
Oh, yeah, a lot of them have died too, so,
Are they all pines?
no,
No?
we lost out too.
Right, and those.
All right,
No.
okay.
Yeah.
It has been moved and,
Let me define it. I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah.
We continue the hearing for 157 North Main Street, DEP, SC 126618 until
21st?
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 well,
Or you want to,
we can bring them back in. I don't know what happens after the technical review.
when's the planning
We
board
still
meeting?
have planning board. I don't recall what the date is.
I think it's 20, I think it's, I can't remember.
27th?
Might be the week after, yeah.
I think it's the 27th, because I know the
I think it
RDA had
is.
to move our meeting
Yeah.
to the 28th, because Jim had planning.
Yeah, I think it is.
So it would be the first one in May,
So,
For us.
for May 5th?
May 5th.
How's
Yeah.
May 5th?
That's fine.
May
Okay.
5th? All right, you want,
May 5th, 2021.
all right, do I have a second? We have Mr. Now in seconds. All right, it's been moved and seconded to continue 157 North Main Street, NOI DEP SC 126-618 until our May 5th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. It's 5-0.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Think about what the planning board does to you guys. We'd like to see, we'd like to see,
That's a loaded question.
It
we'd
does,
like to see a little more creative, perhaps when you come back. We're not trying to put you out of business, but you make that call and
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Kevin?
Okay. Continued hearings. Montello Street intersection. And now we have an SC, now we have a DEP number. DEP SC 126-617. So,
no comments?
No comments from DEP, that was one of the issues, because remember, they didn't move on.
Oh, yeah.
So they had no comments on the culvert or anything, and this is just from the applicant, this is the new information?
okay,
Yeah.
Well, this is about the bridge.
yes, the culvert/bridge.
About, remember the culvert was
Yes.
one of the issues? So they're just explaining. Oh, very good. My dear. Dokey. Thank you.
Gentlemen, welcome back.
Good evening, folks. Again, Wayne Amico, Chris Wagner from VHB. Hope you guys are doing well tonight.
Mhm.
So thank you for having us back. We were with you 3 weeks ago, and you guys requested a few things be added to the plans. I had sent a list to Brooke with some attachments. Brooke, have you handed things out?
I gave him the attachment D, and I gave him your letter with responses.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I have a few other copies here if we need anything during the discussion. But just to kind of summarize the few things we talked about, I committed to adding some street signs to Montello Street to indicate that it was a dead end.
No.
We've done that on one of the attachments. I do have some extra
There's a
copies if anyone needs them, just let me know.
On the responses.
We talked about demarcating the end of the existing Montello Street with some trees. What we've actually done is we added 6 trees at the end. We pulled back the limited construction a little bit farther up Montello, and we put some granite curbing in there so that we kind of created a physical barrier. We wanted to put something in that looked a little better than like some Jersey barriers,
Right.
construction. So we put some granite curb, and then we put some trees behind that to kind of spans the entrance.
Good.
And that's shown on one of the attachments, I believe, that you may have, and if not, I can certainly hand one out to you.
Do you have, I don't know if I have, do you have small ones of the plan?
Sure, I have a couple extra copies. I did not bring enough, I apologize, but I think I have 3 copies here, Brooke, that I can hand
Very
out.
good. Let's see. It was only a couple of the sheets, right? It wasn't.
It was correct, there was only 3 sheets. Thank you. Why don't I give you guys a second to look at that, and we can answer any questions, and we can go on.
I got another one, Al, too. I have another one if they need another. Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah, I'll take the small one.
So I can show you where we did that. Let me show, on the construction plan, I believe it's sheet,
12.
correct, thank you, sheet 12, yep. If you see in the lower right-hand corner, there's a blow up there.
Yeah, the inset, yep.
Yep, and we put, we showed the 6 trees with a planting schedule, some balsam fir and eastern red cedar. And we've, if you look up, above that inset, there's some notes, proposed granite curbing and granite transition curb, showing that we'll be basically putting that right at the end of the road to kind of prohibit access across
Great.
between the 2 roads.
Good.
And then on page traffic plans, let me just find them. Page 27 and 20,
3.
thank you.
No, those are the only ones we have.
Yeah, I know, I'm looking.
We don't have to look through as many things as you do.
That's right, thank you. If you look on page 23, you can see we added some new signs, a W14-11, I'm sorry, W14-1, 14-1A, and then right at the end, as shown on sheet 27, you can see we put some OM4-1, and if you look at the sign summary sheet on sheet 28, it shows you what a picture of those are. So basically, they're warning symbols and dead end signs.
Okay. Very good.
Any questions on either of those 2 attachments?
No.
So third thing we attached was a brief memo. I'm going to mention it, but we'll skip because Chris may want to spend a few more minutes at the end. We have a memo addressing a few comments that we got from DEP, in which they issued the DEP number, and a few comments they had. I did provide, in response to the gentleman that was here last time, a copy of the NEPA certificate and the Section 61 finding, and of course, this I have a couple of copies of. I will give you guys. You can gladly, at your leisure, look through these, but I can attest to you that it does not discuss a bridge anywhere in either one of those documents.
That's why I didn't give, that's why I didn't
That's
make.
the only reason we asked, but someone raised the question, so
Completely understood.
we needed to do our due diligence.
Of course, yep. So we did I think we did our due diligence as well. I did find one reference, and I don't know if Brooke handed these out, but I have another couple copies
That's why
here.
I didn't make.
In our notice of intent submittal, we had an attachment D, which basically.
Oh, I did, I gave everybody that one.
They have
Yep.
that? Okay,
Yep.
thank you, Brooke. Attachment D basically explains how we comply to the maximum extent practical with the stream crossing standards. And on the second page of that memo, standard 1 does mention, I'll read it to you, it says spans, parentheses, bridges, 3-sided box culverts, open bottom culverts or arches that preserve the natural stream channel are strongly preferred.
But that may be where he saw the word
That-
bridge.
Correct, that's
It
the only
says
reference we could
spans
find.
Bridges.
Right.
Correct.
So he may have assumed that that's where the word bridge came
Yeah.
from.
That
So
understood, yep.
everybody was right, but there may have been a misinterpretation.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I wanted to point that out, so maybe that's what he was referencing, and just so you, for the record, I guess we can read our response as to how we comply. The proposed replacement culvert will be a 3-sided box culvert with a curved top. The open bottom will preserve the natural stream crossing, therefore this standard is met. So that was all of the attachments we have. I think for the record, it would probably be good if Chris just ran through DEP's comments and how we comply with those.
Okay, great.
We have that?
Yeah, I can talk about that for a few minutes. So, so DEP issued, a series of comments with their file number, and we produced this memo that we submitted as part of the supplemental materials. And so their comments were, they just have basically a few comments, but they just wanted to sort of, ensure that a couple of the aspects were designed appropriately. So the first comment, they just wanted to make sure that the replication area was designed in accordance with the wetland replication guidelines, and we did do that. We also meet the the performance standards for BVW under the Wetlands Protection Act as part of that. Their second comment was asking whether or not, basically asking about a Chapter 91 license and whether that would be required. It would not be required. There's really no navigability to that waterway, and even if there were, there's a giant culvert under Route 58 that would, prevent any navigability, any passage. I don't think anyone could reasonably call that culvert navigable.
Well, for the turtles, maybe.
Right.
Turtles or frogs, maybe.
A turtle on a stick, floating down the street, maybe.
Upside down, like on a boat.
That's
Yeah.
in the backstroke.
Yeah.
Right. The third comment was basically saying that a separate 401 water quality cert would not be required, and then they said, provided that you meet these following standards, which we do, so just to run through those, we're not altering more than 5,000 square feet of wetlands. We're not dredging more than 100 cubic yards of land underwater. We are providing a greater than 1-to-1 ratio of replacement for BVW impacts. And then for that third subpart, we're not proposing any of the activities that would trigger a 401 water quality cert, which is what those 314 CMR 9.4 1-11 are referring to. So we're not dealing with any of those issues. And then the fourth comment is really more of a boilerplate, saying that if the project changes, if the resource area impacts change, especially if they increase, then it would require sort of a notice to DEP and to the commission to revise the project and our analysis and any replication that we would have to do. So noted, I guess, is the response. And that was the extent of their comments. I guess I would just also point out that we talked about this last time with the abutter who raised the question about the bridge. We said one of the things we would keep an eye out for is whether DEP comments mentioned that or discussed that in addition. And as you can see, they didn't raise that issue. So there's no ongoing question from them.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Okay.
That's kind of a list of the supplemental material that we provided, and we'll certainly entertain any questions or follow-up if you guys may have.
Yeah, I think this certainly is comprehensive, and I think it addresses everything that we had asked about.
Yep.
So,
Make a motion to close it.
all right, we've had a motion to close the hearing. We have a second.
Let me
Okay.
make a motion to close the hearing on Montello Street intersection, DEP SC 126617.
All right, there's a motion. We have a second. Ms. Blackwell seconds. All right, it's been moved and seconded to close the hearing on, there's no one here, right? Okay. On the Montello Street intersection, DEP SC 126-617. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. All right.
Issue of variance, so we can just approve the plan as drawn. Now, I'm gonna have an issue with the plan as drawn. What do you have, you got a date on that? We have a new little thing going on now. We need a plan with a date on it. Do you have one?
So the NOI plans were dated February 24th.
That's great, but it doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that on that. I should have probably included a revision date on that. That's my
So we're gonna
bad.
need one that does, because we're gonna actually sign the plan,
Yep, that's fine. Could I?
and
could
that
you-
becomes
We
part
can-
of the deal.
We can put a revision date on the plan and have them sign it.
Oh, I'm okay with that.
Whatever you guys want to do. If you-
Let's do
or if you
that.
want to list it as a condition, whatever you'd like to do is fine.
Yeah, and
Is there a
it-
revision date that you wanna use?
Let's use today.
Yeah, do that, and then they can sign it, and then you guys can.
And then we'll sign it, and then, at some point,
Yeah,
if you
and
get
then
around to
I'll
it, you can.
reference that in the order of conditions anyway.
I signed the plan, so if you want, I can just sign that plan, and then you
Yeah.
guys have a full record.
Yeah,
Right.
and then I'll put that into the order, obviously.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Excellent.
All right, so are you going to,
So so I make a motion, we approve the project as drawn on the plan revised, today's date, 4/7/21. The Carver Montello Street Traffic Plan, sheet 23 of 61, sheet 27 of 61, sheet 28 of 61, and sheet 12 of 61, as drawn.
Do I have a second?
Second?
We have a second? All right. It's been moved and seconded to approve the Montello Street intersection, DEP SE 126-617, with all of the pages that Mr. Germain has indicated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Now, there is work within the 65, so we do need a variance.
Yep.
Yeah, because of the culvert.
Well, that's right.
Yep.
All right. I make a motion, we approve a variance for Montello Street intersection, DEP SE 126-617, in the area of, we're gonna call it,
The culvert?
as drawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the culvert, that's within the wetlands as drawn on the plan, 12 of 61. I'll use that one,
All right. Along with the conditions set forth by,
along with the condition, that's right. And it'll be on the same revised date, 4/7/21 on the plans.
right, we can do that, even though that really didn't change, but that's okay. That's fine. All right. It's been moved, do we have a second? Peg, seconds, all right. It's been moved and seconded to issue the variance on Montello Street intersection, DEP SE 126-617. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None? We're good.
Excellent. Thank you,
Thanks
folks.
very much.
Thanks very much, this is great.
You guys can sign this.
Would you guys like me to sign that and send you a clean copy? Well, how would you, I could certainly send you a full revised set of plans
Probably
with the
one,
revision date.
for
Yeah, just
for Brooke,
the
just for our records, but we'll keep this as
Well,
the
we'll
signed one.
Sign one, yeah, and let you, they can sign that one. Okay.
Just where it says revised, both of you sign and then print. Yeah, we'll send that.
More traffic.
Paperless is signed.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Have a great night. Thanks. Thanks so much again.
You too. All right, trying to find the minutes. Oh, here they are. Okay. Next up is Center Street, I'm assuming is 129 Center?
Yeah, Kevin continued, they're still going, talking to zoning.
Okay, and 7 Wenham?
Yeah. The endless
Of mine.
continuance.
Okay.
And then every page you'll see where I initial. What are we doing? I'm sorry.
Continue,
Minutes.
continue.
Center Street,
Center Street's
Continue.
continued again, they're still going to zoning.
Wenham?
Wenham, I don't know what they're doing. I've talked to them, and they're still trying to decide. They need to close that file out
Okay. So now
before
it's
anything
minutes.
gets done. Yep. Scrutiny.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as printed for January 20th, 2021.
There's one correction, actually, same correction twice. In the first paragraph, it says perp test should be changed to perc, P-E-R-C. Yeah, one is a percolation test, the other is to see if you're an alleged perpetrator.
Alleged perpetrator.
Did you sign each, did you initial the
Perp.
3 sheets?
You need all sheets?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think I have an initial spot.
See, just initials.
Yep.
Alleged perp.
I like
Yeah,
that.
the plate.
We're having a pervert.
Sometimes they probably are a prep test.
A perp and pervert.
There's a prep test down there where the machine went out of sight, right?
All right, so it's been moved to approve the minutes with correction noted. Do we have a second?
Okay, I'll second it.
Oh, we have a second. Mr. Nowen. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of March 17th. With the correction noted, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None?
Motion to adjourn?
5-0.
Second.
Peg, Alan, a motion to adjourn. Peg, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all.